Ian Fleming was born in London on May the 28th, 1908 into a family of bankers. At the age of 9, he lost his father during the First World War. Enrolled at the Eton College in the 1921, he was kicked out for a relationship with a colleague. So his mother sent him to a military academy in Austria. Recruited during the Second World War by the Royal Navy, he became a lieutenant commander, and from this experience took inspiration for the spy James Bond. Fleming never fought in the front line, but his experience inexorably marked him. In the 1945 he was hired by the Sunday Times as head of foreign services, where he worked until 1959, and during these years he married the Countess Rothermeier. In 1946, Fleming bought the Golden Eye estate in Jamaica, where he moved to Monsahier to write his book and escape from married life. In all, he wrote 14 novels and 2 collections of short stories, beginning in the 1953 with Casino Royale, which then gave rise to over 20 movie transportations. The author died in the 1964 due to an heart attack, and shortly afterwards his wife and also his son died, buried in the Southampton in the county of Wiltshire. Casino Royale is set during the Cold War period. MI6 secret agent James Bond is hired on a mission to France in Royale to win a baccarat match against Le Chiffre, treasurer of the French Communist Party, a Soviet spy on the brink of financial crisis who, in order to survive, stole a large amount of money from the party by investing it in brothels and pornography. When the French government with a law makes these activities illegal, Le Chiffre has to recover the lost cash so that the Smash, the Soviet counter-espionage agency, doesn't find out. He has only one way to do that: fight at the green table, and which better role than the banker, who often comes out as winner? So he organizes a match at the Casino Royale. Bond is very able with cards, and to help him there are Matisse, agent of the Duchenne Bureau, and Vesper Lind. As in every novel, the 007 is accompanied by a beautiful and brilliant partner, a character full of ambiguity and mystery who helps to thicken the plot. Our hero continues his game, but trying to understand Le Chiffre's game strategies, he dares too much and loses everything. Luckily for him, the CIA intervenes and finances his new entry into the game. Bond wins and cleverly hides the winning check, where his rival can never find it. But the antagonist already has a plan in mind to regain possession. He kidnaps Vesper, forcing Bond into a daring car chase, where the agent loses control of his car and ends up off the road. Despite the terrible tortures inflicted, Le Chiffre is unable to discover the hiding place of the loot, and the Smash intervenes to eliminate him. At this point, Bond and Vesper allow themselves a few days of relax by the sea, but the twists and turns are not over. Vesper turns out to be an agent extorted by Smash. The Russian agency, in fact, a kidnapper and partner, forcing her to work for them to discover all of Bond's secret moves. Once she learns of her partner's death, Vesper stops passing information to the agency, and in the meanwhile falls in love with Bond. In order not to further betray his trust, she makes the drastic decision to commit a suicide, leaving the letter in which she explains of her double-crossing. The story ends with this bitter confession, and at the gambling table there is no winner left. The movie Adaptation was released in 2006, produced by Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson. After 50 years, 20 movies and 5 actors, the saga and the myth of James Bond were disappearing. Hence the idea of setting the movie in a contemporary era to embrace a wider audience than the previous ones, appreciated only by fans. The great difference between book and the movie is in the character of James, who in the movie is portrayed as young, inexperienced and freshly licensed 00, than the book, where he is described as a warrior, tired, stressed but combative. The fact that the book was written more than 40 years ago during the Cold War is at the basis of the differences in the movie, starting with the game of Baccarat, which becomes Hold'em Poker. The well-known James Bond car is not an Aston Martin, but a Bentley from 1930s. Both in the book and in the movie, the themes addressed are similar. First of all, we find the clash between NATO countries and Warsaw Pact countries. The opposition, which emerged at the end of the Second World War and then led to the Cold War, had the United States and Russia as main opponents. Surely the fact that the setting of James Bond books recalls and refers to the Cold War is due to the fact that Ian Fleming experienced it personally. From this derives the placement of the protagonist and the antagonist, the first incarnation of the Western spirit, which must avoid the plans of the II, which embodies the ideal of the opposite faction. The latter, however, is a character very similar to Bond, at least in Casino Royale, and reading between the lines, we can find a character who superficially belongs to a pro-communist party, but for his tastes and drives, refers to a capitalist character. So Le Chiffre is one of those characters steeped in political facets, daughters of the era in which was written. We can see characters like him in several books and various movies, where at the center of the narrative there are always the two great world empires in comparison. In the movie You Only Live Twice, the antagonists want to start a war between United States and URSS. The perpetual clash between East and West, between communism and capitalism, proposed in different forms, is the central pivot of the Bond stories. A character who turns out to be a cold resolving hero, the man who never has to ask. Fleming has built the figure of this spy, who has always a woman beside him, more as an accessory than as a partner, infusing Bond with character nuances that belong to him. Bond's misogynic trait, which has a toxic attitude towards the female figures, brings us back to Fleming beating his wife. Like Fleming, Bond attended Eton College and was recruited by Royal Air Force after losing a parent prematurely. Another important theme addressed in a dialogue between Maddie and James in the book is the nature of evil. When you are young, it seems easy to distinguish good from evil. As the years go by, the difference becomes more subtle. The paramount importance of this story within the saga lies in the fact that this is the first appearance of James Bond in his clash against evil. It is precisely the fact that makes Matisse's phrase acquire even more value, and frames Bond at a time in his life when he is still unable to distinguish good from evil, so much that he suffers the betrayal of Vesper. When I had to choose a book to talk about, I immediately thought of this, because I've always followed the 007's adventures since childhood. It was a meeting point with my father, a great fan of the saga. I have to say that I never loved detective stories. I tried with Patricia Cornwell, Anne Holt, and I never managed to go beyond the second page. I finished Casino Royale in 3 days, both because of its brevity and its fast pace.